Finally, some trophy rooms I can get behind. What's up, sneaker people? It's your boy FB Kicks and Gear. Welcome to today's video. And as you can see in front of you, we have the Jordan 1 Low trophy rooms. And while this release had its little bit of buzz and it's come and gone, this is still a shoe that I've gotten personal requests to do a legit check guide on, and I wanted to come around an authentic pair after I came across the rep pair because I thought the rep pair was surprisingly high quality, and there was just some things that I really couldn't compare and tell you guys about until I got the authentic pair in hand. So I did get the authentic pair. I got it through Trade Block, and that was an absolute nightmare. And maybe in another video, I'll go over the terrible user experience that is Trade Block, but I'll save that for another video. Today's video, we are going to focus on these things. And I gotta say, while there's absolutely hype behind any collab, I don't think that these are really getting the shine and attention that they deserve. Take away the fact that this is a trophy room release. We know how that goes. This shoe is absolutely beautiful in hand. It's definitely worth having. The materials are great. The execution is great. It is just a great shoe. And they're going for like $400 now. And you know, by the end of the year, they'll be upwards of $500-$600 or even more, depending on how things go. So it's worth getting a legit check guide out there and learning how to authenticate these shoes if you're in the market for them. And that's what we're gonna do. So on my left, we have my authentic pair. On the right, we have the replica pair, and you will be able to find all of the reference images that you'll need on the Instagram account on the screen. Remember guys, it is absolutely crucial that you learn how the reps look so that you can point them out in a lineup. Right? It's one thing to know what you should be looking for on an authentic shoe, but if you know what the reps get in the habit of doing, you'll be able to have an even easier time legit checking. So with that said, let's get into the shoes. Remember, find all the pictures that you need on the Instagram account that I posted, and let's get into it. And I'm going to try to make it quick because I've gotten comments of people saying that I spend too much time on the box, but if you care about legit checking and if you care about not getting scammed, I would hope that you would want to find all the details that you can. But I'm going to try and speed through the box comparison and the accessory comparison because I know people really want to speak more on the shoes, but there is some things in the box and the presentation that matter and that can help you very easily legit check. So let's start there. So here we have both boxes, left, authentic, rep on the right. My authentic pair is a size 11.5. The rep is a size 11. There isn't really much to point at, but the things that the box does, the effect that Nike was going for this release, really doesn't translate well to the rep box, and it makes it very easy to identify. Just like, for instance, if you remember my Lost and Found videos, the aging and the fading of all the graphics on the box made it really easy to distinguish the real from the fake. This is the same thing. You can see that Nike really wanted to hone in on that old baseball card pack type of thing. So there's a lot of fading all around the box, on the Nike Air, on the little stripes around the bottom. You can see it here as well. And just like in the Lost and Founds, just like in the Jordan 3 Reimagined, the reps just do not replicate that fading very well at all. You can see from left to right how the fading is pretty intense, but it's really not intense at all on the rep, and it's night and day. Look at how much fading is here on the middle of the Nike Air and how little there is on the rep. It's almost like it's not there at all in comparison. Turn it over to the side and you're looking at the same deal. Look at how much more intense the Nike symbol is on the rep than it is on the authentic. Not as noticeable on the top, but still very much similar things going on. Wherever you have the red poking out, it's so much more vibrant, so much more intense on the rep than it is on the authentic pair. And the same thing goes for the other colors. Look at the light blue here with the Michael Jordan signature, and it's just a more intense version on the rep. These shoes come with an inner sleeve, which is fucking annoying. It is the most annoying thing that I have ever had to deal with when it comes to unboxing a shoe, because unless you get rid of this inner sleeve, you cannot store the shoes without storing them inside this, and that is a pain in the ass. So let me move this out of the way because it's just a clear sleeve. One thing I will say though, the reps come with the sleeves that had like a weird plastic on it that you have to unwrap, so that's one thing. The inside paper, they just have really weird color differences. The colors are way more intense and crisp on the authentic paper on the inside, and you can see like night and day. The basketballs look completely different. There's different patterns on the basketball on the authentic pair. You can see all of the black ink or whatever look they were trying to go for, and it looks completely different on the rep. Very, very easy to tell. Outside of the paper, you still have more of that fading issue going on. Look at the box lid on the authentic, how that Jumpman and that city skyline is super faded. And then when you look at the rep, intense. Look how red that Jumpman is on the rep compared to the authentic, and look how much more visible the skyline is. So there's a similar situation on the back here of the box. Again, overall, the rep just did not get the message when it comes to the fading. So that's the box. I won't go too much deeper than that because honestly, it's the same theme you're just looking at in different sections. So pay attention to the fading. Very easy to tell from there. And now let's get into the shoes. So here we have the shoes side by side, and I've got to say, from a materials perspective, the reps actually look pretty good. In hand, they've got the image, they've got the look pretty much together. The materials feel more or less the same. It's satin where it's supposed to be satin. It's nubuck where it's supposed to be nubuck. It's nylon where it's supposed to be nylon, so on and so forth. And they do get that silhouette correct. But when it comes to the details, there are definitely some things that I can see that make it pretty possible and apparent to legit check. And we'll start with the materials. When you look at the authentic pair has a nice soft nubuck surrounding the white, or what's supposed to be white panels. They're not actually white. They're more of an off-white, but as you can see on the authentic pair, there's a slight tumble to all of that nubuck. This is the kind of nubuck that we tend to see on shoes like the Travis Scott Jordan 1 reverse mocha. You see this type of nubuck also on the Travis Scott 1 low olives as well. It's soft, it's supple, and it has a nice slight tumble to it. But when you compare it to the reps, while it's definitely still nubuck and it's definitely still soft, it's just a flat regular piece of nubuck. When you compare, those panels just are not the same. It's not the same exact material. And I've seen a lot of reps, specifically the high tier reps floating around right now. They use this style of nubuck, and the only time you'll kind of start to see wrinkles, and not tumbling, wrinkles, is just in the side panel like this, but that's objectively different from what the authentic pair looks like. Granted, maybe with wear you can put some wrinkles and stuff in there, so you might have to be careful of that, but it is definitely a difference. There's a texture. This was intentional by Jordan Brand to make them there, so reps would have to catch up on that regard. But from there, the satin material looks and feels identical in my opinion. There might be a little bit difference of a shade in the satin, but it's really hard to tell with all the studio light. In some lights, it looks like the rep is just a little bit more of that varsity red, that Chicago red, while there's almost a little bit of maroon going through the satin red of the authentic pair. And that actually becomes a little bit easier to speak to when you look at the metal eyelets. You can see that the metal eyelets here for the rep are a varsity red, while the authentic pair, it is a darker, more maroonish, almost like a blood red. And there's not much contrast between the satin here on the rep and the eyelet, and there is contrast between the satin of the authentic and the eyelets. So That's definitely a difference that I noticed upon further investigation. Looking at the trophy room logos, I would say they look very good, placed well, stitched well. I don't think there's anything worth noting in terms of comparison. Maybe I can see a little bit more of the threads on the rep, maybe, but I think that looks good in that regard. Early reps of these had absolutely terribly jagged swooshes, because this is all embroidered, and they definitely cleaned that up, and that looks really good. When it comes to color, in terms of the midsole, I would say that the authentic pair is just a tad bit lighter when compared to it, and you can see that when you take a look at this back profile shot. And while we're on this back profile, you can see the slight differences in the material on the back. I don't really know how to describe it. It just looks like the authentic pair is just a bit more rough on those threads and that material than the rep, and it really becomes apparent when you compare those signatures. Obviously I have a loose stitch here, which is something that you can cut, but the way the signature stands in contrast to that back material is just different, going from the authentic pair to the rep. Hard to see, but still definitely a difference. It's a different color signature thread that the authentic pair uses, that the rep almost looks like it just uses the same color thread as the back material itself, so they don't stand out. But even from there, probably the thing that brings the most attention to these shoes is this gold wings logo on the back, and you can definitely see some color and finish differences between the authentic logo and the rep. The authentic is definitely more of an orange gold for sure, and it has a little bit more of a shine to it, while the rep almost has like a matte finish to it. And the difference in color and almost like a difference in definition to how they're stamped just adds a little bit of difference to what they look like. A good mirror, but definitely different. And then going into the sock liner, they just look different in how they're seated. Look how much tighter and taut the sock liner is on the authentic pair. No real wrinkles or anything like that. Situated well. But when you look at the rep, it's a little bit messy, a little bit jagged, overlapping. The materials definitely feel the same, although you can see there's a slight color difference between the rep and the authentic pair. The rep being a bright white and the authentic pair almost being an off-white cream. So definitely something to think about and look at there. Outside of that, the only real things that I'm starting to notice when it comes to these shoes is very similar to the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and the Lost and Founds. Reps struggle with whatever they're doing with this tongue situation, where it's a foam tongue, this nylon cover, and for whatever reason, the reps either get the tongue looking way too pink or way too tan. It's really strange. If you go back to my Lost and Found videos, and if you go back to my Across the Spider-Verse video, it's the same kind of situation here. You see that the tongue on the rep is very pink. The foam is coming through, while it's just a lot less intense for the authentic pair, which is interesting. Maybe they're using a different color foam. Who knows? Doesn't look like it to me, but for whatever reason, this happens on reps when it comes to tongues of this style. And while we're looking at the tongue, you can also see a slight color difference between the Nike Air tags. It's a little bit more of a red orange here on the authentic, and more of a traditional fire red on the rep. Outside of that, there's not really much else to look at. They both come with laces. So here's the lace box for the authentic. Here's the lace box for the rep. They're finally starting to match the colors of the boxes. The laces look like they match pretty well. Definitely a definition difference there between the authentic and the rep. So So look at that. These are the yellow, lime, green laces. I'd say that they are, without taking them out of the box, I'd say they're pretty similar, very close. And they are waxed. And the other pair of laces are the white laces. Similar situation here. Rep companies can't fuck up white. Actually, I'll say this. The laces definitely feel sturdier and thicker on the authentic. And the white laces on the rep are just a little bit creamier, while the authentic is a bright white. One thing I've noticed too is the integrity of the boxes definitely feel a little bit different as well. The box on the rep feels a little bit weaker and flimsier than on the authentic. So those are the boxes. So the last thing that we're going to do is a very quick blacklight test, and then we'll wrap up the video. So I'm going to take a blacklight around these shoes and see if I can find anything that reacts, and we'll hopefully see that on the rep. So nothing alarming. We're seeing some reaction actually out of the eyelets here. Seeing some reaction out of the underlayer underneath the perforations of the authentic toe box. We're seeing some reaction out of that tongue tag. And nothing else. Nothing too crazy here. We have a little bit of paint correction here on my heel of the authentic pair. And you're getting some reaction out of the white laces for sure. No reaction out of the yellow laces. So pretty cut and dry. Now let's see what the rep does when we hit it with the black light. So you are getting perforation reactions, which is what we want to see. You're getting reactions out of the lace holes, even though they are still a different color than the authentic. You're getting a reaction out of the tongue. Nothing else alarming, nothing else alarming. Oh, looks like we get a reaction out of the sock liner. And no reaction out of the sock liner on the authentic pair. So that is a huge, 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 huge tell right there. You are getting reaction out of the satin sock liner of the rep, and you don't get it on the authentic. So that is a very, very, very good sign. We love to see that. The white laces react and the yellow laces don't react. So I'd say from this black light test, the biggest thing is the sock liner lighting up. It's always good to have things that you can look at under the black light. I realized, guys, that I did skip the insoles. So I'll do a quick little look for you there. Definitely the rep has a more lime green insole on it than the authentic pair does, which is more of a lemon yellow color. You can definitely see that color difference. And for the other shoe, which is a light blue, slight color difference there as well, but not as drastic. And yeah, so sorry I had to shove that in at the end of the video, but all right, guys, so that's the video. And that wraps up our first legit check guide on the Trophy Room Jordan 1 lows. Where does this rank for you this year on your top shoes list? Because this is definitely up there with me in terms of Jordan 1 lows. So that's it, guys. Remember, you can see plenty more pictures of the reps on the Instagram account right here. Study those reference photos, know what you're looking for so that you can legit check properly. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.